In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Our gospel lesson today zeroes in on this tense exchange between Pontius Pilate and Jesus on the subject of kingship. It is the day of Jesus' crucifixion. He has been brought to the praetorium, beaten and bound, to be interrogated by Pilate. And the praetorium refers to the official headquarters of the empire, represented here by Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea. During major Jewish feasts, such as Passover, Pilate would relocate temporarily from his official residence on the coast to stay with a garrison of Roman soldiers stationed in Jerusalem to keep an eye on the Jews and tamp down any spark of rebellion. Now, Pilate finds himself face to face with Jesus, a man identified by religious leaders as not just a spark, but a flamethrower, appearing in Jerusalem on Pilate's watch at the worst possible time. Pilate is the designated stand-in for Caesar, the emperor of Rome, the earthly king of kings, the embodiment of absolute power and prestige. Jesus, by contrast, is a nobody, who nevertheless is hailed as a king by the crowds flooding into the city. Pilate is desperate to get rid of this problem and restore equilibrium. Jesus will not play by his rules. "Are you the king of the Jews?" Pilate asks him. "Are you a king? Yes or no?" Either answer gives Pilate a clear path forward, but Jesus doesn't bite. "You say that I am king," he replies. "For this I was born, and for this I came into the world to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." And though our reading today ends before Pilate can squeeze in his famous three-word rejoinder, we hear it anyway. What is truth? Now, it's easy to imagine Pilate's tone, so irritated by Jesus' composure, so impatient to wash his hands of this troublemaker. Maybe he doesn't wait for a reply, but simply strides off to meet the crowds, or perhaps the two of them stand staring at each other. Jesus' silence in the face of Pilate's questions speaking volumes. Either way, Pilate will not or cannot perceive that truth is the very person standing in front of him. What is truth? Truth is as threatening and disorienting for church and culture today as it was for Pilate and the chief priests and the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago. Truth exposes the malice and corruption in human systems of power, privilege, and wealth. Truth is. It isn't up for debate. It doesn't belong to some and not to others. I don't get to choose my truth, no matter what the self-help gurus say. I can have opinions, strong feelings, even my own perception of reality. But big T truth is bigger than me, bigger than my ego, and bigger than my tribe. Truth is Jesus territory. Truth is the mind of God. As Christians, we don't get to settle for anything less. And I recognize that this is a tender time to hear this teaching. It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving. In just a week, we enter the season of Advent. The world around us, from Starbucks to CVS to Amazon, is in full-on holiday swing. And even in an ordinary year, Christ the King Sunday can throw us for a loop. But this year, our longing for comfort and joy, for the baby in the manger and the sweet hope of that silent night, it makes it that much harder to focus on the work at hand. So I ask you to hear again Jesus' words to Pilate. For this I was born. For this I came into the world. We place truth at the front and center of our sanctuary. Truth as depicted in the twin images of Jesus' kingship. Jesus on the cross, right over the altar, opening his arms of suffering love to embrace the whole world. And above that, in our stained glass, Jesus resurrected in power and great glory, our merciful Redeemer and Judge. A king that is the humble and forgiving servant of all, a king whose sole purpose is to testify to truth about who God is and who you are, about love and the purpose and meaning of your life. So if our reading from the 18th chapter of John's Gospel sounds even more jarring and prescient this year than usual, then you are in the right place. Our divided nation is distracted and entertained by sensational trials and congressional commissions, consumed by decisions over whom to punish and whom to pardon. It isn't truth that most of us are after, though, just confirmation of what we already believe. Meanwhile, our local community is reeling from the death of high school senior Morgan Kaplan, shaken by the measure of anguish some young people are experiencing right here in our midst. Even in this moment, there is comfort and joy to be had, but we won't find it in closing arguments or even expressions of condolence. We will find it instead in the silent presence of Jesus standing before Pilate after Pilate spits out in frustration his question, what is truth? Truth is Christ the King, hanging on that cross, lifted to God's kingdom, drawing us to himself, not just here in church, but in courtrooms and Congress and in our schools and in our public square. Truth is calling us to live as citizens of God's kingdom in which power is made perfect in weakness and every life is holy. Truth asks us to rejoice and give thanks that we are, all of us, governed by God's ultimate rule of mercy and love. It is well nigh impossible to get this right, especially when we keep looking for comfort and joy in the kingdoms of this world. But let us not abandon the struggle. Words may not get us all the way to truth, yet they can orient us in truth's direction. And to help us turn down the volume of this kingdom and turn up the frequency of truth, I turn to the wisdom of theologian Simone Weil, and this my favorite teaching of hers about truth. She wrote, "It seemed to me certain, and I still think so today, that one can never wrestle enough with God if one does so out of pure regard for the truth. Christ likes us to prefer truth to him because before being Christ, he is truth. If one turns aside from him to go toward the truth, one will not go far before falling into his arms."